We've been led to believe that intimacy, passion, and desire are fleeting, that they belong only to the young. But what if I told you that this is one of the greatest misconceptions about love? What if I told you that pleasure doesn't fade with time? It transforms, deepens, and can even become more fulfilling than ever. In this video, we'll break free from the outdated ideas that society has imposed on us. We're going to explore how intimacy, especially oral intimacy, can be one of the most powerful, liberating, and satisfying experiences in maturity. And trust me, you won't want to miss a second of this conversation, because by the end, you'll see intimacy in a whole new light. One that celebrates connection, passion, and self-discovery. Before we dive in, if you love open and honest discussions about pleasure, hit that like button and subscribe to Wise Sexuality. YouTube sometimes hides content like this, and your support helps more people discover this space where we break taboos and embrace the beauty of intimacy at every stage of life. Love and intimacy. How many times have we felt that these words belong only to youth? Society has made us believe that with time, desire, passion, and pleasure fade like autumn leaves. But my friends, today I want us to open our eyes to a much more beautiful, much more authentic reality. Love and connection have no expiration date. Now that you're here, I want you to imagine something with me. Close your eyes, take a deep breath, and think about the last time you truly felt desired. That moment when a glance, a touch, or a whisper awakens something inside you. That electricity running through your skin. Intimacy doesn't disappear with age. It evolves, transforms, and takes on new, deeper dimensions. And rediscovering it is one of the most beautiful experiences we can have. Throughout my life, I have experienced every phase of love and sexuality, from the fiery passion of youth to the more profound, intentional moments of maturity. And if there's one thing I've learned, it's that true connection between two people goes far beyond the physical. Yes, our bodies change, but desire remains. It simply awaits new ways to be explored. A few years ago, I began to wonder, what if, instead of clinging to outdated notions of what intimacy should be, I allowed myself to experience what truly made me feel alive? And almost without realizing it, I began to rediscover pleasure from an entirely new perspective. This is where oral intimacy comes in, a practice that, although often kept in the shadows of taboo, can be one of the deepest and most satisfying ways to connect. At first, I admit, the idea made me uncomfortable. Maybe because of ingrained beliefs, societal norms, or the way I was raised. But when I began to see intimacy as a form of communication, a subtle dance between desire and tenderness, everything changed. Recent studies have shown that in later years, sexual satisfaction is not determined by youth, but by the quality of emotional and physical connection between partners. In fact, research published in Geriatric Sexuality and Health in 2020 found that couples who explore new forms of intimacy, including oral pleasure, experience greater emotional and physical well-being. And it makes sense, doesn't it? Let's think about this for a moment. When we allow ourselves to explore each other's bodies without traditional pressures, without the belief that it has to be done a certain way, everything changes. Every touch becomes a discovery, every kiss a sensory journey. I still remember the first time I truly opened my mind to this possibility. It was a moment of complete surrender, mutual acceptance, and rediscovery. I realized that sensuality isn't about age. It's about how willing we are to feel. My partner and I learned to communicate in an entirely new way, to guide each other with soft words, knowing glances, and gestures that spoke louder than anything else. Communication is key. Without it, there is no real connection. Talking about what we enjoy, what makes us feel comfortable, what brings us pleasure, that's the secret. Many times, we feel insecure about the changes in our bodies. But when we open up to our partner, when we share our thoughts without fear or shame, everything flows naturally. And here, I want to pause for a moment. Because I know some of you listening might be thinking, that sounds wonderful, but I don't know if I can feel that way anymore. Let me tell you something, from the heart. Yes, you can. Desire doesn't disappear. It adapts. From a medical perspective, maintaining an active, intimate life, even in ways we hadn't considered before, has enormous benefits. It improves circulation, reduces stress, releases endorphins that make us feel happier and more relaxed, and even enhances our self-esteem. Feeling desired and loved gives us a sense of vitality that no other aspect of life can replace. Let me share another story. A dear friend of mine, at 72 years old, confessed that after losing her husband, she had completely closed the door to intimacy. For years, she convinced herself that that part of her life was over. But then, she met someone new, and slowly, she opened herself up to the possibility of sharing her body and soul again. She told me that the most beautiful part of this new relationship wasn't just the companionship. It was how they both learned to enjoy pleasure without rush, without pressure. That's what I want you to take from this conversation. Sexuality in maturity doesn't have to be an echo of what it was in youth. It doesn't have to follow the rules imposed by a society that has convinced us that desire has an expiration date. It is a new territory, full of possibilities, of discoveries, of moments that can be just as, if not more, intense than in any other stage of life. And if there's one thing I want you to remember from this conversation, it's this. Don't be afraid to explore, to communicate, to experiment. Don't be afraid to feel. Life is a journey, and pleasure is a fundamental part of it. So, my dear friends, I invite you to rediscover yourselves, to give yourselves the luxury of feeling, touching, kissing, and loving without restrictions. Maturity is a second youth in disguise, and it's up to us to embrace it. If this conversation has made you reflect, I want to hear from you. Leave me a comment and share your thoughts. What resonated with you the most? How do you see intimacy evolving in your own life? Your voice matters, and your experiences can inspire and support others in this beautiful community. Let's keep this dialogue open, honest, and enriching, because together, we're breaking barriers and redefining what it means to embrace love, passion, and connection at every stage of life. And if you haven't yet, take a moment to subscribe to Wise Sexuality. Here we challenge outdated beliefs, celebrate pleasure without shame, and explore the true depth of human connection. Your support helps this channel reach more people who, just like you, are ready to embrace intimacy with confidence and joy. Plus, by subscribing, you won't miss any of the exciting discussions and eye-opening topics we have coming up. I'll see you in the next video. And remember, love and desire don't fade with time. They evolve, deepen, and become even more meaningful when we embrace them fully. Let's continue this journey together.